This is distracting for you. Let's turn that shit off.
Hey, everybody. We're live. It's Wednesday. No, it's Thursday, and it's Real Talk on Real Estate. It's not Wednesday. I typically do these on Wednesday, but we've been so busy. I've had zoning meetings, and let's open that one up, too, for the echo. And we've been busy with projects. And so one of the big things is putting ourselves in a position where we make time for the real estate. Leave that open right there on that one. Cool. And making sure that we make time to be able to get our Real Talk on Real Estate in. And today is really cool. And here's why. I had some people reach out to me. And one of the things they asked me, they said, Jerome, I want to know the difference between value add and fix and flip. They didn't understand the difference. And there's more than one person. I've been asked that multiple times. And so I want to talk to you guys today exactly about that, is what the difference is between value adds and fix and flips. And so, ladies and gentlemen, one of the big things is understanding and knowing what you're doing when you go out into the real estate market, right? And we have a lot of projects going on right now. Geez, as I come in, I come flying in from the door and I sit down and I say, okay, Daniel, let's make this thing happen. We got phones ringing and we got people working. And I tell Daniel, in spite of how busy we are, we got to make time to make sure that we get the important stuff in. And this is important. All this stuff is super important. So I want to make sure that we make that time for you guys. And so we have I'm heading out to Seattle tomorrow. So I'll bring you guys some footage. While I'm in Seattle, I'll bring you guys footage of our cottage project that we're doing out there. And we're working on a land acquisition to purchase land for an apartment complex that we're looking at over in the Tacoma area. So I'll bring you guys in. We have the capabilities on one lot that we're looking at to do about 250 units. We're not going to go that big. I think we're going to be closer to about 150 units. And if we acquire it, this one plus 3 or 4 additional lots. Raymond has been looking at that stuff and setting it up so that when we get down there, we can fluidly just go in and shop that real estate. And then Steve is another gentleman that we're working with down there. Great guy, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the videos that I've done with Steve while we were up there, but I'll bring you guys some more footage with Steve as well while I'm up in Tacoma. And I'm mixing a little bit of work stuff with family stuff. My son has a football camp that I scheduled purposely up in Tacoma, and it's great. A lot of the Seattle Seahawks players will be there, and that'll be cool for him. But I know you guys didn't come in to hear me talk about specifically my deals, although a lot of those have direct examples of what we're talking about today. And so what we're really talking about today is value add versus fix and flip, and what's the difference between two and how it benefits you guys to know this stuff, because this stuff is super important. And so one of the biggest problems is people come into real estate not knowing exactly what to do. So they fail because they either never get started or they make massive mistakes. And so I'm going to start off with what fix and flips are, because most people are familiar with the term fix and flip, right? It's when you go in, you buy a piece of real estate. Typically, it's a residential house more times than not, although I've done it with retail buildings and commercial properties my entire career. And what fix and flip is exactly that. It's when you buy an asset and you fix it up, okay? You go in, you fix it up, and you fix it up with the intent to resell it for a profit, okay? So typically, when you're doing fix and flips, typically it's a distressed asset. So, and what I mean by distressed, it's something that was built years back, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even 50 years ago or more. And the property is aesthetically distressed. And so you're able to go in and you buy that asset, you add value, you buy that asset and you fix up all the air conditioning, the heating, the electrical, you update it, you put new flooring, you put in a new kitchen, new bathrooms, new flooring, new paint job, maybe some exterior, some landscaping, and then you put it up for sale and you resell it for a profit. So in order to make a fix and flip work, the key components are, one, buying the house for the right price. That's the first thing, is being able to go and buying the house or building for the right price. And what you do is you go in and you have renovation costs. You have to do an assessment of the property. When you do fix and flips, you got to go in, you got to do an assessment of the property to see what needs to be fixed and what's going to add value to that property so you can resell it for an appreciated amount. And typically fix and flips are pretty easy to evaluate, because if they're aesthetically distressed or they're just dated in general, you go in and take out the 1970s kitchen and the flooring from 10, 15 years ago, and then you put in current flooring, current kitchens, new bathtubs, new paint, and you update everything and you get it updated, then someone comes in, they say, okay, I like this house. It looks modern. It's updated. I don't have to do anything to it because the person who fixed it up did just that. They fixed it up. And I'm just going to go ahead and move on in, and then it's hassle-free, and they can move in without having to do anything. And so you're able to go back in and resell it for an appreciated amount. Okay. So let's say, for example, now here's the thing. You guys have heard me on all my videos and everything. Right now, I'm not a big fix and flip person in general. When we go in and we buy properties, I tried this in 2006 doing fix and flips. And one of the reasons that I don't like them is for this purpose right here. I'm not a big fix and flip person because the margins are small. They're smaller, right? So if you're fix and flips people, you know. Now, you can go into renowned markets like Laguna Beach. I know that my buddy Cole did one out there, and they were projected to make 6 figures on that fix and flip. That's not regular in most areas of the country. The average fix and flip makes between $30,000 and $40,000 on profit margins. Okay, so to me, that's small, and for me teaching people, it's small. And so I tell people, why risk the variables? Because if you open up the walls and there's something in there that you don't like, guess what? If you have to go back in and fix that thing, and it's a $30,000 fix, $10,000 fix, $20,000 fix, you make zero. And so I'm not a big fix and flip person, but I'll tell you guys that people make tons of money doing it. It's a lot of work. It's very stressful. And I'm not going to sit here and tell people not to do it, because there's a lot that I've done in my career that's a lot of work, very stressful, and the margins sometimes are great and sometimes they're not as great. So it's a means. It's a means to go out and generate capital. But the thing is with fix and flips is it's a job. When you go out, you buy an asset, you turn around, you renovate it, and you resell it, understand that you get paid one time, okay? You get paid one time, and that's when you resell that asset. And so your liability starts when you purchase it, and when renovations start, your liability starts. And until you're done with renovations and you sell the house, your liability ends. And you only get paid one time on that. So if my only profit on that is $40,000 potentially, and you have the capabilities of, let's say, a market adjustment or market shift, here's why I don't like it. Right now, we're sitting in definitely sitting in a bubble, right? Everybody knows that there's an inventory shortage. House prices have escalated and appreciated close to 20% over the last year. And so we know that house prices are extremely higher than they have been in prior years. People are putting in offers that are 5%, 3%, 10% higher than list price in certain markets, in most markets. And one of the big things is right now you can make money in fix and flips. Simple theoretical example, ladies and gentlemen. What happens if we take a shift, and we take a shift for the worst? And since I don't have a crystal ball sitting in front of me, knowing exactly what the percentage of that shift's going to be, what if, for sake of example, we see a 30% shift in the market where home prices dip 20%, 30%, and you buy a $350,000 house, which is the national average right now for the median home, and you take 30% on that, what is that? So if you go in, and let's say that you go in and you take a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 hit on that house, probably going to be more than that, and you're working on a $30,000 to $40,000 profit margin, your margin just went down to $10,000. What if that takes you 3 months, 4 months turnkey from the time you buy, the time you renovate, the time you list and sell, and then you actually have to wait during the inspection times, closing time, provided that everything goes perfect on that sale, that they can get financing, that everything goes perfect, 3 to 4 months. And ladies and gentlemen, not everything goes perfect in life. So there's going to be scenarios where, yes, that happens, and it's a storybook closing and it works perfectly, no delays. But what if it takes you 3 to 5 months and you make $10,000? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can go out and get a job making that money in less than a month, right? Most people can. And so I sit back and say, okay, I want to make a profit. And so when I'm teaching people stuff, I sit back and go, I'm going to teach people how to profit no matter what they do. And that's one of the reasons that I teach how to go out, buy land and build houses, because my variables are smaller. But we're not talking about that today. What we're talking about is the difference between fix and flips and value add. So fix and flip is is a property that you buy, you fix it up, and you sell it for a profit. The difference between value add properties and fix and flips is this is one of the big ones. You get paid one time when you sell that property on a fix and flip. Now, here's what I like about value add properties. Okay. Now, the difference is value add properties when you find a distressed asset, just like the house. Okay. And the house can be a value add property too. It depends what your business model is. If you're exercising the Burr strategy, when you buy, you renovate, you buy, you renovate it, you do all your rehab, you stabilize it, refinance it, and then you repeat the process of that. And you're doing it to accumulate multiple units of housing, then it's the exact same thing as what we're talking about here. So one thing that you guys have heard me talk about in the past is how every winter, because we have a full-time construction company, we have boots on the ground, construction guys going every single day. We're pouring concrete always. And so one of the things that I always talk about is having multiple streams of income, but I got to keep these people fed, especially in the winter months. And so most winter months, we lack a little bit in work for all of our guys. So what I did 15, 17, 18 years ago, whatever it was, I said, you know what a perfect business model. Let me just buy a building every single winter. So in September, October, I start shopping. And by November or early December, I've purchased a retail building or an office building, typically about 8,000 to 12,000 square feet, give or take. Sometimes they've been a little bit smaller than that, maybe 5,000, 7,000 square feet. Point being is I go in and I find a value add property. A property that's financially distressed and aesthetically distressed. And so when I look at the property, I sit back and say, okay, typically the properties are ugly, right? They're older. They're typically ugly. They need something. They need a facelift. But I look at the area and I say, okay, is this area thriving? Do I have a traffic count that makes sense? Do I have parking? And can I come in and rehab this and add value to it and make money? Okay. Now, the one thing I love most about value add properties is you have the potential of making money two ways instead of one way. Okay. So with fix and flips, you go out and you work in a job. And then once that's over, that project is done, you make no more money on it. What I like about value add projects, whether it's multifamily, whether it's retail, whether it's office, whether it's industrial warehouse, whether it's storage units, what I like most about value add properties is that if you buy multi-unit real estate and you do value adds, most value adds are considered to be value adds in the commercial sector, not the residential sector, unless you exercise it the way I was talking about earlier, where you're buying houses like through the Burr strategy and you're creating a portfolio of multiple homes. So you have multiple units, just like you would an apartment complex, an office building, or anything else. And so, but you get two ways, two means of generating income on a value add property. So you come in, you have multiple units, you renovate it, you make it pretty and beautiful again. And then you come in and you advertise it to lease, whether it's to a single family residence or you have multi-units, multiple units, multi-family, but you have a single family resident that's moving into one unit or multiple units, and then they pay you rent every month. Or you have an office building like the one I'm sitting in now that I've owned for over 20 years that I go in, I put storefront glass on it. I make the exterior facade beautiful again. I make the curb appeal nice. I put the signs up on top that are methodical and they look professional. Simple little things. Then I just gut the buildings down to a shell, paint the ceilings black, the white's wall, the white's wall, the wall's white, and then I put ADA bathrooms, simple 2x4 construction, 2x6 construction, ADA bathrooms with handrails, simple toilets that are handicap accessible, a sink and a little vanity in there with a little toilet paper dispenser and some hand washing dispensers, and I'm done. That's it. And then I lease it. And what's cool is that people go in and they rent these because they need barbershops, beauty shops, they need churches, they need nail places, they need little restaurants and all this little stuff. So we've been successful, these little tiny retail centers for many years. And even COVID even helped us. We got rid of bad tenants and we infilled them with new tenants, and the outreach was actually more abundant than I thought it would be. And so we actually have better tenants in most of our buildings now than we did prior. Now, value add is exactly what I'm doing up in Youngtown right now. I found an old office building, myself and my partner, Kyle and Gary, and we went in, we purchased the building, and we're going to add value to that thing. We're going to convert it though. We're going to convert it not only going to add value, we're going to convert the use. We're going to turn those into apartments. We're going to make it pretty again. We're going to make it look brand new. We're also going to build brand new apartments in the backside of it. And we're going to add value to it. And then we're going to sell it for either an inflated price, or we're going to have that equity and we're going to get rental income forever. And that's what I love about value add, is the fact that I don't have to go out there and continue doing them over and over and over again. When I end up buying a property and adding value to it, I have that option to sell it and make a profit based on the value that I added to that property and the appreciated rents that I'm getting now because I added that value. But the rent itself, ladies and gentlemen, is your cash on cash return on your investment. That's the cash that you deployed into it. You're making cash every single month from rental income, passive income, ladies and gentlemen, residual income. That is what I was taught back in the 90s when I was in network marketing, is deploy the efforts of other people into the workplace, and you let other people's efforts, other people's ideas, and other people's money pay you each month. Let your money go to work for you, and let money revolve and come back in. And so what I love most about value add properties is that I can keep them, and then I have income coming in for the rest of my life as long as that property is viable, right? And so if I just renovate it, I got another 20, maybe 30 years of financial viability with that property, as long as you've done your homework and you know that there's progressive growth in the area that you purchased on a value add property. Okay, so I took some notes. I want to make sure that I have I'm hitting everything. So on value add, I have some notes here. There's a lot of upside on commercial real estate. This is where I made most of my money. Even over my companies that I've owned, our net worth has come in from a lot of value add properties because of the upside. Okay, so where you can go in and buy an apartment complex today. Okay, you can buy it at a sub 5% cap rate, and then you have to come in and put 30% down on that property. Let's say you go in, you buy a $4 million property, you have to put 30% down, so you're putting like $1.2 million down payment on this property. Now, that property needs, let's say, $10,000 per unit. What that means is if there's that's on a property that small, you probably maybe will get 10, 15 doors on it. And so let's say there's 15 doors, and you have to add $10,000 per door in value add. You're adding value. You're putting new floors. That's value add. You're putting new sinks. You're putting new toilets. You're putting new flooring. You're putting new countertops, for sake of example. And all of that expense is adding value to the property. So hence, it's called value add. And so you go in and you say, okay, and how we underwrite things is exactly like I'm talking right now. So if I'm talking French to you, it's because I'm teaching you stuff. This is the stuff you should be writing down, where I sit back and say, okay, I'm going to do a value add project. I'm going to buy this thing at $4 million, but I want it to be worth $6 million. And let's say there's 15 doors on that thing, and you're putting $10,000 per door. That's $150,000 worth of renovations into that property. Now, what are you getting back in return for that $10,000 of renovations per unit, per door? Okay, units and doors are the exact same thing. Okay, so I'm going to talk in real simple terms, because I know that there's people that don't understand when we're talking about the quantity of doors or the quantity of units that we're talking about. And so when you go in, you buy these properties, and you pick them up, and you sit back and say, okay, for $10,000, I can get $200 more per month in rent if I add better flooring, if I add better toilets, if I add new countertops, if I put new appliances in them. And I just do simple little things. I paint them again, fix the broken baseboards, and fix the broken doors. And if I add $10,000 more to these, and I get a couple $100 more in rent each month, when I go back to resell it, I can resell this property based on the rent premiums increasing. And if it's still at a 5% cap rate, and I'm still selling it at a 5% cap rate that I bought it for, I can theoretically go out and sell that property for $6 million. And so I have that as equity in the property, or I can just keep the property with all that extra equity in it. I can refinance it, get my money back out, because when I go get appraised, I get a new appraisal on a value add property, they're going to appraise it based on the value that you added and the new rent amounts that you have in there, with the new tenants that you have in there, or the existing tenants that are willing to pay more because they want to live in a better place. And so when you do value add, you sit back, and I don't assume that everybody's going to leave. In fact, I assume that 100% of the people are going to stay, and that we're going to have natural attrition of people revolving that door that are moving in and out of that property. And so a lot of times I sit back and I go, okay, I'm going to assume everybody's going to stay, because once I put the new kitchens in for them, they're going to love it. Once I put the new flooring in, I get rid of that gross, nasty carpet, they're going to love it. Once I come in, I paint this place, they're going to love it. Once I go to the outside and I make grass areas for them to play in, for their kids, put in a park for their kids to play in, and I redo these parking lots because they're horrible looking, there's potholes everywhere, they're not going to want to go anywhere else, because the extra $200 that I'm charging them to live there, they can't get a place that nice down the road. So why would they leave and pay either more money or pay less and get into garbage? Now, there's people that are limited financially that will leave, obviously, but the whole goal is to add enough value that you keep your tenants and they're more than happy to be able to go in and pay you more rent to live in a nicer facility. And hence, that's value add. When you can add value, charge people more rent, and you're able to get that back through your cash on cash return on your investment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now you're building a net worth. Now you're building assets, because now from the means of financial literacy, smarts, and sweat equity, you're able to increase your net worth by adding value to a property. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can't do that on fix and flips. Okay, that's a big difference. Is because fix and flips, you don't have the ability to go out and generate income other than one way. That one way being when you sell the property. What I love about value adds, you have two ways. You can increase the value of that property, not just by fixing it up. You're going to add value to fix it up. But if you fix up your entire property on a commercial project, on a multifamily apartment complex or retail building, but you don't go out and appreciate the rents to take that ad, the value add advantages out of it, then the property is worth no more than it was when it was ugly. And so now listen to that again, because I want to make sure you guys follow that. So if you go in and let's say you buy an apartment complex that has 10, 15 units in it, okay? You add value to all 10 or 15 units. And let's say, for example, people were paying you $700 a month before you did renovations, and it had nasty carpet. Just like, I don't know if you guys saw the Instagram stories that I did the other day when I was over in Phoenix, and I was doing my zone deals. My zoning change, I went in and I was walking a property that was for sale. It was a 260 unit apartment complex. And I walked this property, and God forbid, this thing was just nasty. $1,000 a month, 1 bedroom apartment. The floors and tile in the kitchen were just trash, just cracked to pieces. The baseboard was ugly. It looked like that stuff was beat from here to hell and back. And it was just all beat up and chewed up and looked like it had been speed up like raw ham. It looked nasty. It smelled nasty. Everything about that unit grossed me out. And I showed the property, and it's like $1,000 a month. Holy shit. So to me, I sit back and go, okay, if they're paying $1,000 a month for this shit box, what if I just go in, rip out these carpets, and put new floors in all these units? And I just put in hard LP floors. I put in linoleum flooring, wood plank, real nice, modern. And then I come in, I fix the baseboard, simple baseboard, nothing too expensive. And then you just come in and put newer appliances in there for $1,500. You can put all brand new appliances in there, and then just get the countertops recoated. And even just that alone. And then you get a good cleaning in there. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to get, if you're getting $1,000 a month for that shit box I posted the other day, I'll tell you for sure, you'll be able to get 200, 250 or more a month out of that. And so what that instantaneously does is increase the value of your property. Now, if you're naive enough to go in and put that in there thinking that just because of the aesthetic value of what you put together is going to increase the value of the property, on a value add property, you're 100% wrong. That only works on fix and flips. On value add, you have to go in and exercise the premiums on the rents, because there's what's called the appraised value of a home or of an asset. And so when you do an income model of that appraised value, then you go in and that value is only worth what you're collecting in revenue from that property. So the more vacancies go up, ladies and gentlemen, the property drops in value. And so the goal is to have the minimal amount of vacancies and have more tenants in there and have an increased premium of rents, because that increases the value of that property for you. And so with value add, you want to go in and add value to it that people are willing to pay more money for. Hence, it gives you more income and more cash on cash return on your investment. And it gives you more revenue, and then you can sell it for more. And so that's the difference between value add, ladies and gentlemen, and fix and flip. And so I'm not a fix and flip person. I love buying buildings, and if I sell them for a premium and I make a great profit and I flip them by the nature of what we do, then awesome, I'll do it. But otherwise, I'm a value add person through and through, 100%. No, that's my thing. I love value add. I love new construction, and I love multi-unit real estate for the reasons that I talk about. Now, if you're going to go in and you're generating capital, because we generate a lot of capital from buying land and building houses and through our developments. And ladies and gentlemen, you can too. And I'll encourage you guys, and I'll tell you, I hate fix and flips. I do. I hate fix and flips. It's not my thing. For all you fix and flippers out there that just turned off the channel because you got your feelings hurt, I'm honest. You guys are the ones that need to be listening to what I'm telling you guys, because you could go out there and you could have these small margins and these variables, and you can bust your ass for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 per house, or you can buy land and build it new with less variables. And everybody goes, Jerome, it sounds like so much more work. The first one, ladies and gentlemen, is more work because you're scared. You don't know what the hell you're doing, and you need leadership. You need somebody to teach you how to go out and build a house, right? And even if you don't have somebody, you'll figure it out. It's not that hard. There's enough people around you that'll help you out if you have questions, as long as you're willing to go in and ask. Okay, but once you do that, you can go in and make six figures on every single house if you're in the right market and you manage your project correctly. Now those are the key components. You got to manage it correctly. You got to buy your land correctly, and you got to be able to go in and know that you're in the right market where the houses can be sold, right? You don't want to go in and people say, well, what happens if the market shifts? Ladies and gentlemen, I've done hundreds of homes. I've built hundreds of them over the last 20 plus years. And out of all of my years, I'll tell this story till I'm blue in the face. Out of all my years in doing it, even in the 2008 recession, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you, I sat on homes for 2 years because I was stubborn. I said, these houses are beautiful. They're worth every penny. I'm going to sell them for that. And I sat there with 2 or 3 homes that I was stubborn with until I started getting roof leaks. And then when I started getting roof leaks, I said, okay, I've got to sell these things. And I just sold them for what I consider to be super cheap. And I gave them away. And even at the price that I sold them for, I didn't literally give them away. But the price I got from them, when I came back, I sat back and at the end of the year, I had a larger tax liability, or God forbid, I would have went out and expensed some of this stuff, so I didn't have such a large tax liability. So my tax bill came in. I said, what the heck is going on? Why? And I thought I had literally taken a loss on some of those properties. And my accountant informed me, he goes, no, Jerome, you made like the worst, the 2 that we sold, we made profits on. And the one that was the worst out of the 2. We still made $37,000 on that damn thing. I couldn't even believe it. And I sat back and said, wow, that's unbelievable. And there was that much margin in it. And so I landed up winning on all of them. Those were the worst. That was my worst case scenario in all the years I've been doing this. But ladies and gentlemen, you got to buy your land correctly. And so I have tons of information and footage on how to buy your land. And you have to be able to manage your projects quickly. So you don't take a year and a half to build a house. Once you get permits, you should be able to build a 2,500 square foot house in 4 months, maybe 5 at the most. Labor is a little tough to come by right now. So even if it takes you 6 months, you do that in 6 months and you sell that thing and make $80,000, $90,000, $100,000, $110,000. One of our students just came in with one of our people, our inner circle, our students that came in, said that they just sold one for $50,000 more than they had expected. So they made like $150,000 or $160,000 on a build that they thought they were going to make $100,000, $110,000 on. So that won't last forever, but it happens. So the opposite also happens, where you go in, the market shifts on you. Worst case scenario, you make $45,000, $35,000 on a house, over nothing, and your liability goes down because you decreased your variability on that asset. You can sell it more. You have more equity in it. And that's what I love about value add properties, is that people ask me, Jerome, why do you do value add over just buying properties in an inflated market? Ladies and gentlemen, I sit back and I look at multifamily, and I've thought multifamily has been overpriced since 2018. Okay. And so when I look at it, I look at it in, Sam, thanks for the question. I'm going to give you guys some answers here in just a minute. And if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. I'd be happy to run through those comments with you, those questions with you guys here in a minute. But the reason I love value add projects, ladies and gentlemen, is because I can walk in like this Youngtown project that I'm doing in Phoenix Metro. I'll walk into that thing with 45% equity in that thing the day I'm done constructing it. So based on comps, conservatively speaking, based on everything that's already going on in that exact same vicinity right now, we get over 100 units. Our sales price on that thing, if we decide to sell, which I don't know if that's going to be the case, in fact, we'll probably keep it, is going to be someplace in the neighborhood of about $15.5 million, right? And so we're going to put about $8.5 million into this project. So ladies and gentlemen, what apartment complex out there can you go and buy right now and walk into it with $7 million in equity right now today? Anybody? None. They're not available. If they were, we'd be snatching them up as many as we could, and there'd be punching fights in the middle of the parking lot trying to buy those things, because that's near shy of what people are doing now to buy those things, exaggerating, obviously, but near shy of it, right? But ladies and gentlemen, that's why I love value add, because I can go in and buy something financially distressed, physically distressed at value, and then increase that thing 100-fold, and not 10x, 100x, right? And then I go in, and that little 10x is now becomes 100x, and you get to multiply your income and double it, ladies and gentlemen. I walk in with 45, 50% equity the day we finish and we stabilize. You watch what happens in this Tacoma project, right? We've already done a beta test on this, where I had another colleague of mine that just did this 2 years ago, that we went in and we were walking this project, and they walked in with 55% equity from the day they stabilized it and they finished construction and people started moving in, and it was a new build. And so we're going to be doing the exact same thing, because of we're servicing a market sector that is in need of affordable housing. So we're not going after low income housing. We're not going in after Section 8 housing. What we're going in after affordable housing that needs to be fulfilled, where it's affordable for the working professional that works down the street at a Bank of America. They can go in and buy a house. The people that work down serving tables at the restaurant down the road, where they can afford to live. We're going in and servicing people that are working at the mechanic shop across the street. We're going in and servicing the accountant that just graduated from college that's working for the business right down the road. We're looking for that doctor that is doing their rotations or their internship. We're looking for those type of professionals to come into a brand new asset that love having a nice, clean, new product, and we can stabilize it at a reasonable price. Doesn't have a lot of amenities, but we're servicing a sector of affordable housing that we are in need of nationwide. So if you're listening to this and you're sitting in the market wondering if there's a market for you in your market, if there is a market for you to do this specific thing in your market, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting here to tell you that the probability is yes, okay? Because we're in need of affordable housing nationwide. So you can build new, or you can take old, distressed assets, add value to them, and then take the upside to them. So ladies and gentlemen, through and through, front to back, top to bottom, I'm a value add person all the way through. And the number one reason why is because of the two ways you can generate capital. So if one day that property becomes stressful for me, or I just don't want it anymore, or I'm going to scale up, or I'm going to do something else, I can sell it and make a profit that I can also deploy into something else, maybe do a 1031 exchange, maybe expense it into another project that I just take full depreciation on, 80% depreciation on the first year. These are all just simple theoretical examples. Or I can just keep the asset and I can own it for the rest of my life. And I can even air that on to my kids, where I don't even have to air it. I just have to have it through the LLC, and the LLC my kids become the managing members of that, and it just goes downhill through my trust and however I decide to continue taking ownership of that asset, and it just continues to have rent every single month, and it is cash flows every month in, month out, and I have a shitload of equity in it because I did value add, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, cool.
I got a question from Inner Circle.
It's got some rent money. That's cash.
Serious?
Rent money.
Real life.
Just came in right now. Cash. They were late on this PS, by the way. It's the middle of the month, so that's all right. There's some late fees in there too. But
You got a question?
mailbox cash. Yeah, we got a couple questions here. Let's see.
I have one right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, look, if the information, anything, one little thing makes a small difference in any part of your life that I'm talking to you guys right now, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, click and subscribe.
Inner Circle, Leon.
Leon? Okay. Let me, Good afternoon, Daniel. This is from the YouTube live. Sorry to bother you. Realtor keeps asking me for proof of funds before she contacts the seller to schedule a showing for the property. Now, is this on the YouTube stuff?
A little
Or
bit
it's
related.
different?
He brought it up. He brought the deal yesterday, so it's
Okay.
somewhat related.
Okay.
So we could
Yeah,
actually-
we'll do this one later. Let's get with these guys on the YouTube live, and then we'll get that one. I'll help you with that one. No problem. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Daniel over here. If you guys haven't met Daniel already, Daniel's my right-hand man here in the office dealing with real estate. This guy right here, and you watch and wait. 2 years from now, this guy's going to sit back and say, I made my first $1 million through the means of real estate. And I made 6 figures working for Jerome, teaching people how to get wealthy,
The same stuff
doing
we're
real
learning.
estate, the same stuff
Same
you
stuff.
guys are learning. And he takes care of all our commercial leases here locally. So if you guys don't know Daniel, you need to know Daniel. Daniel's well connected with all my Rolodex of everything that we do here and is getting knowledge infiltrated into him, liquid injections of knowledge into him every single day and night. So much so he doesn't even answer my calls at night.
Sometimes.
I tell him, I go, Daniel, I call Daniel sometimes. I go, because I need to know this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I call Daniel and I say, Daniel, I'll leave him a voice message that doesn't answer. It's like 10 o'clock and I say, Daniel, what's it like to be wealthy? Because one of these days when I'm as wealthy as you, I'm not going to answer my phone at 10 o'clock at night either. Because I still answer my phone at 10 o'clock at night. So I bust his balls and give him a hard time, but I love him to death and he's killing it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's answer some of these questions. Sam J. Sam, do you worry about all the rental moratoriums? Just saw an article update today about the feds trying to expand it after the moratorium ends. Yeah, I mean, they've been trying to do that for this entire time. So here's what's happened, ladies and gentlemen, with the moratoriums and the forbearances and all this stuff. I was concerned about them, Sam, last summer. Okay. Last summer, if you go back and you watch my videos, you're going to see that I was concerned about the forbearances and the moratoriums, the rental moratoriums and all that stuff, because there was so many people on them, right? There was over 5 million Americans exercising the moratoriums. And what I talked about is that we need 2.5 million more homes on the market to stabilize it at that time. And so I said, okay, if 50% of these people go into foreclosure, then we'll have a stable market. We'll have a lot of foreclosures back on the market, and it'd be a win-win situation for us. Bad for the people losing their homes, great for investors, right? Big more, and it would have depreciated the value of houses. But what's landed up happening is that people, because here's the moratoriums, the way they're set up is even though you haven't paid your rent, doesn't mean that you don't have to pay your rent. That means that you have to pay it at the tail end of your of when your lease expires. The people that have mortgages that exercise the mortgage moratoriums, they're not just free of not paying their mortgage. All that money just adds up to the back end. So if they refinance the house, what ends up happening, if they refinance the house, they have to take everything they hadn't paid. So if they have a year that they haven't paid it and they have a $1,500 mortgage, ladies and gentlemen, they owe thousands upon thousands of dollars, right? So you take that money, you have over $20,000 of unpaid mortgage fees. Your house has to appraise for over $20,000 more than it did, than what you owe on it in order to get out of it. And what we were foreseeing is that we weren't going to see this escalation of property values because of the inventory shortage. So we sit back and scratch our head thinking, okay, if we see a 2%, 3% increase in real estate this year, if we were lucky enough to see that, these people are screwed. There's no way they can get out of their homes because they're not going to appraise. Well, ladies and gentlemen, real estate has went up over 16%. We're almost 20% over escalated in 1 year. So what's happening is that people now are able to exit their houses by selling it or refinancing it. And when their appraised value's gone up by 16, 20%, they're able to refinance all of what they owed in their moratoriums back into their new mortgage. So now there's nationwide, there's only about 2.5 million. And don't quote me on that exact number because I haven't looked at that number in about 3 or 4 weeks. But last time I checked, there was only about 2.5 million Americans that were still exercising the mortgage forbearances. Okay. And so I sat back and said, okay, even if 50% of those people go into foreclosure, it's still not even enough inventory to just even get the market, to get the inventory where it plateaus and it's not a buyer, it's not a seller's market anymore and becomes a buyer's market, right? Or even just an even market. And so the way where we get these numbers from is from the National Board of Realtors. Okay, I don't make these numbers up. These are numbers that we get, and with the National Association of Realtors says, not the National Board of Realtors, the National Association of Realtors says we need to have over 5 million homes on the market in order to to have a stable real estate market. And so we had 2.5 million houses on the market. Plus, if we had another 2.5 million come up through forbearances, we have a stable market, according to the National Association of Realtors, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's only 2.5 million people still exercising the mortgage forbearances. So even if 50% of those go into foreclosure, it's not even enough homes to just stabilize the inventory crisis that we're experiencing right now. So anymore, it's not a concern of mine, because I sit back and I go, 100% of these people will have to go into foreclosure, even just to stabilize the market. Not even, that doesn't even put it to become a buyer's market. That's just to stabilize it. So we don't even have enough people on the mortgage forbearances right now, if 100% of them went into foreclosure, even to stabilize the market. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm not as concerned about that as I was a year ago. So to the answer, Sam, I'm not really too concerned about that. I get more concerned about the investors that have apartments that have been affected by this. We haven't. Our apartments in Arizona and all our buildings have done really, really well. I know that there's people in New York City and other big cities that took massive hits that are affected by the rental forbearances and the rental moratoriums and forbearances. And those people, my hats and heart goes out to them. But if they do lose it, ladies and gentlemen, I will be coming in with a broom and dustpan to come and pick up the pieces and hopefully get a good deal on something. And I hope you guys would go out there and do the same as well. And so for those of you guys that think that's nasty and hateful, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't take advantage of it, someone else is. And, we will. And so I have a story that in 2008, I have a buddy named Dave. He's an engineer, and he landed up losing 4 of his buildings. One of them was financially distressed. The other 3 were fully leased. He had all 4 of them in his personal name, not under an LLC. He lost all 4 to the same exact bank. Him and his wife had them in their name. Guess who bought them? I bought 2 of them. And then I had another buddy buy another one. He was so mad at us. And ladies and gentlemen, you can go out and get mad. Like I told Dave, I said, Dave, someone's going to buy them. Why not have us buy them? He goes, yeah, but I'm the one that told you guys I was going into foreclosure. I said, I know. So we reached out to the bank, and the bank talked to us, and we knew you were going to lose them, and someone else was going to buy them. So why not us? And so we bought them. He was mad. Didn't talk to me for like 7-8 years. Now he does work for me again. But that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't make the rules. You follow the rules, you play by the rules, and you pick up the pieces. But Sam, I don't think that the forbearances are going to be an issue as big as we thought they were going to be. They're going to be an issue for individuals, but not for investors. Not something I'm concerned about as an investor. Now, Benny, let's see. Benny, how are you, man? Hope you're killing it down in Florida. You and Big Mike. What's the best way to start in real estate as a beginner? Okay. Best way is just to get started. However you can get started. That's the best way, is just to get started. Best way would be get into an owner finance deal in a single family home. If that means you're going in and you are doing a fix and flip, you're able to get owner financing on that deal. Ladies and gentlemen, you just have to create a business model. Okay. Understand that everything in real estate and everything in life, in business, starts with a thought, starts with an idea, right? Okay. That's the first thing. It starts with an idea. And then that idea, you have to execute on that idea. Okay. So the way you execute on that idea is you go out and you put a business plan together and you say, okay, this is my business plan. I'm sticking to it. You don't veer from it. And so what happens is people go out and they try to find one home, and you ask, you consider owner finance, and they say no. And they go, oh man, I can't find anything. There's no owner financing out there. And I sit back and go, bullshit. Look, there's somebody out there that's willing to finance that house for you, that owns it, and they're willing to take an offset of capital gains taxes. They want to offset their capital gains taxes. They want to make a little more revenue being the bank for you on your behalf. If you guys don't know what owner financing is, when the owner becomes the financial institution for you, since they own the property, they become the bank. You pay them, or you pay the escrow company, and then they basically mortgage it for you. And then you're able to either do like a fix and flip, or you're able to stabilize it and rent it. And then once you have rental income, you go to a bank, take that leasing contract, and then you get a mortgage on that thing. You get them out of it, and you get started like that. Or you sell it, you make a little profit. Yeah, this is where fix and flip is okay. And I still think that buying land and building houses is still better, because here's what you can do. You can go out and have somebody buy a piece of, sell you a piece of land, and land, you can find people that will owner finance land you. I promise. It's not that hard to do. Even with single family homes, they're out there, and there's a lot of them. You just have to do a little more legwork to find them. But you find a piece of land, somebody that's willing to do an owner finance deal for you, always do it for 2 years, and then they owner finance it. And the key is you need to have them take second position behind the bank. And so they lien the property in second position behind the bank. You have what's called a take back deed. So you take ownership of that land. You go out and you get your permits, you put designs together. Your expense is being able to go out and put some designs together. And then you go out and you get a construction loan as an owner builder, right? Say that it's going to be, let's say that, for example, it's going to be your primary resident at the time that you're building it, and maybe you do move into it, or maybe you don't, and you do it as an investment loan. But either way, you have options, and you go to an institution, or you can raise capital. And you give your investors back 10% on their money, 15% on their money. And yes, that's a lot of money, but you're gonna give out to them. But if you're making a 30% profit, even if you make a smaller profit range, ladies and gentlemen, don't get greedy. Is the biggest thing I say. When you're just getting started, don't get greedy. Because let me show you guys something real quick here. Okay? I do this, and you guys have probably heard me talk about this. There's a pie, okay? And in that pie, it's cut into pieces, okay? Just like anything, okay? Now, you could take 100% of that pie if you want, okay? But if you take 100% of that pie, you're going to work your tail off. You're going to probably kill yourself doing it. Or, if you're getting started, let's say that let's say that you would normally make 35, 40% on something, okay? But let's say that it's your first time, and you're willing to give up a little more equity on one of your deals because you need help. You need help financially. So you find somebody that does hard money lending, or you find somebody that does high risk loans, and they do bridge loans, or they'll do they'll come in as an investor, and they'll take first position, and they'll take the asset as collateral for their money. And you, instead of making 30% here, let's say that you give up some of that, and let's say that you only go in and you make 20%. Okay? Or maybe you would only give a financial institution or your investors 20%, give them 30. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to get started. You got to get started, because if you make $100,000 on that property and that's your profit margin, that's your profit. That was your 20%. But let's say you gave 10% of that up, you still made $90,000 on that by giving 10% up to somebody else that was investing. Ladies and gentlemen, how selfish can we be? You know, I mean, if you're getting started and you're asking for a bone, give up a little bit of your equity to be able to get started. Because if you're going to make $100,000 profit, you got to give up 10% of it more to pay more in interest to an investor. Give it to them, ladies and gentlemen. If you got to give them 20% more, give it to them, because you still make $80,000 for sake of example. Get a high interest bearing loan, then just go in and execute based on a proven system. Our system, it works. I promise. We've been doing it forever. You know, if you execute the way we build and develop, I've never lost on it. I mean, I think unless your property gets hit by lightning, or it gets wiped off the earth and sinks into the ocean, I mean, yeah, you can probably lose money on it. But ladies and gentlemen, you can still go out and make a profit. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you go and give up a little bit of equity on it, go in and make a profit on it. And now you have capital. Ladies and gentlemen, have your owner financing person, have them take second position. And then you have them lien the property, so that in escrow, when you sell the property, the escrow company, the title company, they pay them back in escrow when you sell the property. And then you just dust it off. They pay them back their interest. They pay them back the land. And ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't exist anymore. But what happens is people get fat and hungry and they get greedy. Give up a percentage. You're going to have your construction costs. Pay your contractors 15%. You know, if they're building it for you. Pay your realtors their 6% if they're selling it for you. Pay your finance company, you know, that's a big number, right? But let's say pay your institutional stuff more money to get started. And then whoever else, all your other expenses that you have in here, pay out your other, 23%, you know, or whatever it is, and just take your little 20%. Ladies and gentlemen, you might have made 30%, but to get started, give up another 10, take 20% to get started. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do that and you don't get greedy, you win. It's the greedy fools that lose. There's parables in the Bible, you know. So I didn't write the Bible. I just, you know, I studied it. I grew up Catholic, right? I went to Catholic school. I don't know if I learned it there. I learned it when I was older. I don't know if I learned anything in Catholic school other than stressed. I was a dyslexic kid, right? I learned a lot in Catholic school. I'm joking. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you like the content, you get any type of value out of it, it's a little tiny bit of value at all, give us a thumbs up. Let us know that the value that we're adding is helping you in something that you're doing in your life. And subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. But ladies and gentlemen, today's topic was what the difference is between value add and fix and flip. And so if you didn't get the privilege of being with us from the beginning, rewind and rewatch this video as soon as we post the thumbnail, go back and watch it. And I can explain exactly what the difference is between value add and fix and flip, and why I love value add properties and why I love value add real estate more than anything in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, when you understand the benefits of how to generate capital through the means of real estate and deploy it into value add projects and cash flowing, cash producing entities, that's when freedom in your life becomes real. And I'm not sitting here to tell you guys that money's everything, but it sure does make life a lot easier. And if I have the freedom and flexibility to go out and do what I want with my family, kids, and not have to worry about the dollar bill and money coming in next month because I have passive income because of what we're teaching you guys here, ladies and gentlemen, all day long, that's what I'd be doing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you guys for being here. Again, click and subscribe, pound that thumbs up button, go out and make it a great day. Thank you, and God bless.
Let's run. Yeah. Let's record the